Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Jagir, and I am an epic fantasy writer. My debut epic fantasy novel, Breaking, is going to be coming out soon. The release date is September 19th. Mark it down. But this is a fun little video where I'm going to be listening to the audio version for the prologue. I have not heard this before. I am listening to it to the very first time. Just yesterday, my friend Ryan Shukis, who is narrating the book, sent this over to me. So you're going to see my reaction listening to it. Of course, I know my book. The book itself isn't a surprise, but listening to him narrate it is going to be a treat. It's going to be a joy. He's very talented at what he does. And I'm going to be putting links to his stuff in the description below, so feel free to go and check that out for him for sure. But yeah, I'm excited to get started on this, and let's get into it.
Breaking. Prologue. Prin ran beside the hedge, holding out her hand so the leaves brushed over her fingers. The swishing sound of her skin along the plants was constant and relaxing, a welcomed break from hearing the Zayeth buzzing in her village, Threvenelt. She didn't mind much that she heard everyone Zayeth. Only when the village gathered did the humming and buzzing escalate too much for her to handle. Prin's mother told her that when she was just a child, she would go into tantrums in large crowds, covering her ears and screaming until her parents led her away. They couldn't understand why at the time. Now that Prin was all grown up, 10 was old after all, she had grown to enjoy the sounds she heard. Still, it was relaxing, removing herself from the village proper to escape the humming from time to time.
All right, so I feel like I could listen to just the beginning over and over, the Breaking prologue. He's just got such a just an awesome kind of commanding voice there. One thing why again, Ryan's a good friend of mine. We work together, and kind of at the same time he let me in on his projects doing the audio narration and some other stuff that he does. And I told him I was writing a book, so it worked out perfectly. But what I love about Ryan's narration is I actually don't like listening to audiobooks all that much. And I think it's because a lot of them are either too dry, they're too flat, and I don't know, I've just had a hard time listening to it. Honestly, probably the only audiobook narrator I've actually really enjoyed listening to is Andy Serkis, who does the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion. He does a fantastic job. It's that kind of like dramatic reading, and Ryan and I discussed quite a bit about, we want it to be not a dramatized reading, but we also don't want it to be that flat kind of static voice. And so Ryan actually, man, he takes painstaking effort. He actually read the book, sat down with me. We had like meetings, and he basically walked me through the story and his understanding of the scenes, the characters, the emotions. And it was really cool because I didn't tell him anything about my book. And it was really cool seeing him like say stuff that I didn't know would be quite obvious, or if it would be or not, and just getting those emotional beats, how the characters act and how they behave and how they speak. And so he takes this process super seriously. But just kind of going back to the style that we kind of agreed on, and just what he does naturally anyway, is that kind of, again, not the dramatized reading, but definitely trying to convey the picture of what's happening, the emotion, the feel, the setting, trying to put all that into how he pronounces his words, his just the beat that he goes to. What he does is beyond my knowledge as far as, the process that he does with it, but really liking it so far. So anyway, let's keep listening.
Running along the hedge that circled Threvenelt was one of her favorite things to do. It kept her the furthest possible distance from the others, and there was a familiarity in keeping that hedge beside her. The only sound was the quick stepping of her feet and the rushing of her hands through the leaves. A bell chime from the village sounded faintly, but distinctly, that signaled midday. Prin looked up to the sky. The clouds were a lilac color, the lightest time of the day.
Yeah, so in my world, I'll be kind of making some comments too. Of obviously, just kind of my world in general is the it's an eighth is the cloud wall, if you will, that kind of encircles the whole region of my book, Fyevna, and yeah, so it kind of gives off this kind of purple. Like cloud-like feel to it. It's a protection of the region, and so thus in my website and everything is kind of the purple theme for now at least. So that's what that kind of the purple lilac clouds. That's what the kind of vision is that I'm painting there.
She wondered, as she often did, how they knew when to darken and lighten each day. Some days were darker than others, but today was a bright day. Prin stopped running and walked down the shallow slope away from the hedge. Trees covered the slope here on the west side of Threvenelt, but she didn't have to travel far before a slight buzzing sound reached her. This one had a particular skip to it. That would be Tate, who tended much of Threvenelt's vegetation. Prin walked a bit further before the trees thinned and a great garden greeted her. The rows of vegetables spread wide before her, and she took a path down a grassy aisle between two plots. Tate walked ahead of her, and she soon caught up to him.
I don't know what it is. Just the way he, even just like something as simple as when I'm writing the book, so Prin's walking between these, the grassy aisle between two plots of vegetations, and Ryan just, I don't know, every line that he says, I feel like he just puts all the energy in the world to just convey that, just a little feeling there of what it should feel like walking between, this garden, and just makes you feel like that he takes you there. Exactly how he narrates is exactly how I wish that I could like read books to my kids, right? I do the best I can. And obviously for that age, they don't really, care more or less. But I told Ryan like, hey, like, read it to me as if like I'm sitting in front of you and you're just trying to read me a story. And it just really, really impressed so far.
His buzzing clear now in her mind. A soft hum with a long skip and then a quick second skip just after the first.
Yeah, so my magic system in my book for this one, so the Zayeth, it's kind of mentioned earlier and it'll be brought up again. So Prin can hear people's Zayeth, kind of the spirit, that side of them that keeps them alive, a power there. I don't want to say too much. And so that's what he's describing there, the kind of buzzing that she hears. Is kind of unique to her, and so she can hear how different people sound around her.
Hello, Tate. It's a very light day today. Tate startled and laughed, turning to greet her. His light gray skin was fair in the midday light, as would be all the people in Threvenelt. Yes, it is, Prin. How easy it is for you to startle me. Tate stepped to the side and motioned for Prin to continue past him. Prin smiled at him and pressed on.
Ryan did a really good job there with the voices, and especially, man, I mean, whether you're a male trying to do a female voice or vice versa, that's hard no matter what, right? Ryan is never going to sound like a girl, and a woman is never going to sound like a guy doing it. And so just trying to change your voice inflections, and again, I don't know how he practiced this or warmed up for it, but I'll have to have him on sometime to kind of discuss it all. But just a great job capturing that, that 10-year-old kind of girl, like youthful spirit about her, the light voice. So excellent job.
Finishing her way through the garden. A general buzzing in her mind steadily intensified as she reached the first houses of the village. Her home was set on the east side of Threvenelt. Rather than walk through the center where people would be attending the giving of the Zayeth, Prin instead rounded her way around the outskirts of the village, which had the general form of a circle. The humming never overwhelmed her this distance from the village center.
Yeah, so at midday, the people in the village gets together, they kind of replenish their Zayeth, and that kind of gets described later on in the book through a process. And so because getting too close to that would just overwhelm her senses and sensory of hearing all that buzzing, she does not partake in that by going to the village center. So she skirts it, goes around to her house. That's kind of what he's describing there, just a bit of bringing my world to life there.
The only time she ever needed to go there was when the Zayeth was replenished by one of the Sielevnim, a keeper of the Zayeth. Prin never heard her own Zayeth, though. so she never saw the reason for her partaking.
Even just like that little thing there, instead of saying so she never saw the reason for her taking. He inflected that just like so well. So she never saw the reason for that. Again, I don't do it justice, but again, I'm super impressed with the way Ryan, he doesn't just look at the page and say, okay, for the dialogue I have to do these character voices, and the rest I'm just gonna kind of just kind of get from point A to point B. I'd like to be in the room while he records. I've actually seen some of his stuff where he'll take a take, and if he doesn't like it, he'll redo it again, and he puts his whole body and mind and effort into doing it. It's a exhausting process for him, and kudos to him. Just fantastic job.
Her parents insisted, though, and it was nice seeing the people from her village assemble all together from time to time. Prin rounded the north side of the village. The trees were sparse here, though their wide and thick canopies still darkened the ground and filtered the lighter lilac from the sky into a darker purple. Prin walked half in the shade and half in the light and examined her hands. The one hand was light gray in the lights, and her other in the shade was a darker gray, both hands having a slight blue tinge. Prin much preferred the midday light. Though she could see well enough, even in the dark, the lights brought a different kind of cheer to her.
More a comment from my writing here. In this prologue, the prologue does a lot, and you'll see there is like a story kind of being told here, and you'll see as it leads into the book. But I wanted to accomplish a lot of stuff here without being super heavy on the reader. So, for instance, like the light grayer skin that everyone has, the dark purple cloud, just kind of how it filters through the tree light, the Zayeth, her hearing it, just all these things I'm kind of softly introducing in the prologue. And so on one hand, it's a lot, especially the first, 2 or 3, maybe in 4 or 5 chapters. It's quite a bit thrown at the reader. However, I try to do it in a way that makes it seem natural. And, if you kind of read it and just kind of let yourself get sucked into the world, knowing this is a world that you are not used to, that you haven't lived in before. At least I hope I kind of communicate the introduction clearly enough for the reader.
The eastern slope of Threvenelt appeared from under the thinning canopy of trees. This side of the village didn't have much for trees or bushes, just the open slope that rounded Threvenelt up to the hedge that surrounded it. Prin's house was the furthest one on this side, her parents having moved to this distance once they realized it was everyone's Zayeth that she was hearing. Prin spotted her house, separated from the other outlying huts. There was nothing distinct about it, as all the homes in Threvenelt were constructed the same. Layered bending and folding of the Vye wood for the walls and the thatched roof it supported. The grass thinned and gave way to the dirt the closer she approached her home. Along the front side, facing the village, were an assortment of tools, outside gear, wooden chairs, and a central fire pit that was used frequently. Prin pulled up one of the rough-looking, but sturdy, seats and planted herself in front of the door. It would still be some time before her parents filled her phial with the Zayeth and brought it to her to drink. She never noticed any difference when she replenished her Zayeth, if her spirit retained any at all. But when any other person drank, their thrumming sound would immediately louden.
Introducing just some kind of stuff there that isn't, again, necessarily for you to remember if you got to the end of the book, but just kind of almost like if you're in a college class, right? You're listening to a lecture or just something. If you're hearing stuff, you get some of it, say like 20% you retain or whatever. I don't know what the stats are for. Maybe it's 10%. So I'm just kind of dropping some breadcrumbs throughout this prologue to just kind of click in your mind so that as you read, maybe you'll recall some of it or your mind will be at least familiar with the story. So just trying to put some breadcrumbs in there and just give a taste to introducing you to the world.
A very slight buzzing again reached her as Threvenelt's people started to return to their homes after having replenished themselves with the Zayeth. This far away from everyone, the variety of intensities and inflections was bearable only when, That's odd, Prin thought. She turned and looked inside the hut. She knew no one was there, but a very deep, rumbling sound reached from behind her. It didn't disappear when she waited. In fact, the longer she sat there listening, the louder the sound seemed to grow. Prin stood and walked around her hut and stared up the long, barren slope to the hedge at the top, which looked small from this far away. She closed her eyes. Even with the humming behind her from the village, this new sound began to overpower them all. It was not at all like the buzzing sounds from the Zayeth. The sound wasn't even a hum at all, but like a deep drum whose one beat never faded, like the sound of rolling thunder. Very quickly the sound escalated. It pounded and throbbed inside her skull. Prin pressed her hands against her ears, even though she knew that wouldn't help. Just when she thought its intensity was becoming too much for her to bear, it stopped quicker than it had come on. The sudden quietness that it left in its wake unsteadied Prin for a moment, and she grabbed onto the side of her house to stabilize herself. A ringing was left in her mind from the quick change, but soon that too faded completely. A new sound, a welcomed, normal humming appeared again, one with a soothing constant and hardly any inflections. "Prin!" her mother called from the front of the house, having returned with a full file of the Zayeth. When Prin didn't answer, her mother called again. Prin took one last look up the slope. The hedged wall and naked hill seemed cold to her now, almost lifeless, as if they too had heard and felt that dreadful sound. Prin turned from the hillside and returned to her mother, but that thundering roar still echoed in her mind. Breaking.
Whew, Ryan did a good job there. I guess before getting to kind of the culmination of the prologue, I was really impressed with the mother's voice. Not necessarily the voice itself. It's just, it's one word. She called out her daughter's name, but she's yelling it, but from a distance. And so, again, I would have liked to have been there to hear Ryan kind of record that part where he's trying to make it sound like she's yelling, but not extremely loud. Anyway, just even something as simple as that did phenomenally. How Ryan narrates the book is exactly how I envision it in my head. Whether I'm envisioning like reading it, the pace, or the pace of the actual story. So he seems to kind of slow it down to like the deep thunder sound, and I can't do it justice, but he just does a really good job nailing those story moments, taking his time, and again putting his whole just like body and effort. I know because I've seen him before. Just give all of his energy into each and every line that he narrates. So that is the prologue for my book. I do have a version up on YouTube where you can listen to it without my rambling on. But I'll also be doing reactions to chapter 1 and chapter 2 for my book. I might do more after that. I'm not quite sure, but at least those couple, just to give you a taste of the book, my thoughts on it, and getting my reaction to hearing the narration for the first time. Chapter 1 is going to be fun. That obviously jumps right into the story with our three main protagonists. So definitely stay tuned for that. I can't help but smile because I'm just, Ryan just, even regardless of how poorly or how well my book is written, Ryan has made it sound fantastic. So kudos to Ryan. Way to go to him. I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm just going to be saying that to myself all night tonight now. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Again, if you haven't, if you're just kind of new and maybe this is the first video you stumbled upon, my debut epic fantasy novel, Breaking, is coming out September 19th. You can head to my website to go to my store page. Everything's in the description. You can pre-order, or if it's after that date, go ahead and buy it now, however you kind of land on the page, whatever that timeline is. But I'm really excited about it, and I'm working on book 2 as well. So I'm not one of these authors that's going to write a book and then fade away. I'm going to keep writing, and so yeah, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Ryan if you can support him in any way. His links are in the description as well. Again, thank you, and I will see you next time.